Okay, so first we have to complete the table. So we'll complete the absolute value column first. If x is -2, the absolute value of that is 2. -1 becomes 1, -1/2 becomes a half, 0 stays 0, the absolute value of 1/2 is simply 1/2, the absolute value of 1 is 1, and the absolute value of 2 is 2. Different things happen when we square it. We have -2 squared, that's +4, because -2 times -2 is +4. Similarly, -1 squared is +1. -1/2 squared is -1/2 times -1/2, and that's +1/4. 0 squared is 0. 1/2 squared is simply 1/4. 1 squared is 1, and 2 squared is 4. Now we need to use this data to graph the two equations by hand. So the first one is y is equal to the absolute value of x. Well, that's the first point is -2, 2. So -2, 2 is here. -1, 1 is here. -1/2, -1/2 is over a half, up a half, right there. 0, 0, a half, 1, 1, and 2, 2. Oop, 2, 2 here. And when you connect those, they predictably form this V pattern that we're used to. So that's what it looks like. The other one, we're going to use these two numbers as the point. So -2, 4, that's -2 up here, which is higher. Then -1, 1, that goes through the same point as the absolute value. -1/2, 1/4, so we go over 1/2, and up only a quarter, so now we're dipping below. 0, 0 is the same. 1/2, 1/4, again, is a little below the absolute value. 1, 1 is the same as the absolute value, and then 2, 4, it starts to rise up above. That's the graph of y equals x squared. It has this coming down because the numbers are still high, they're positive, and then it reverses again. There's a symmetry to it. So there's the hand graphs. To graph it in your calculator, you simply put y is equal to absolute value of x in, and y is equal to x squared, and you get something very similar to this. Although it's zoomed out a little bit more, you can't really tell the detail down here. But it says similarities and differences. Here are some, or here are the differences between them. The absolute value of x is straight, whereas the x squared is curved, right? The absolute value sort of goes at a steady rate, whereas the x squared graph starts off kind of slow, but then starts to accelerate on both sides. The absolute value is greater than the x squared, but only in this 0 to 1 range. So the absolute value here is higher than the x squared, but for a very short period of time. Then it's less than the x squared after that. So that's also a difference. Some similarities are they're both sort of symmetric about the y-axis. They both kind of have the same x and y intercept here. They both go through the origin. They both sort of hit their minimum point here. This is indeed called the vertex of the parabola, just like it's called the vertex of the absolute value graph. They also go through the points 1, 1, and -1, 1. So that's that.